The mind likes solving problems. There is a sense of satisfaction to be had in solving problems. It's just that if that's all you have, then if you don't have a problem to solve, then you're in trouble. And what will happen is you'll create problems to solve. You were mentioning this guy on Reddit. He was saying that he enjoys solving problems. And if AI can solve problems better than he can, then what good is he? He had an issue with being productive. If the robots are producing all that you need, then what good are you? That's a good question. Who am I if I can't solve problems and work? It's like an addiction. It's compulsive. You can't live without it. So you're a slave to it. The mind is like that. Using the mind can feel really good. It's just, can you enjoy it in moderation? According to Franklin Merrell-Wolff, there are 3 modes of knowing. Traditionally, we really only know 2 modes, and that's thinking and feeling. Feeling including sensation. So I know my world through what I think and through what I sense or feel. He posits a 3rd mode of knowing that he makes up a word for because there isn't a word for it in Western philosophy. He calls it introception. Another way he describes it is knowledge through identity. So basically the mind, the thinking mind, the conceptual mind, understands or knows things through a kind of grasping. People say, can you wrap your head around this? That's what they're talking about. Do you grasp what I'm talking about? That's conceptual understanding or knowing. Introception, or knowledge through identity, is, well, we wake up to it. That's the idea. And that is analogous to thoughts being like waves on the surface of the ocean, and the identity is being oceanic, and in some sense infinite. But on the surface, there are these waves. So the thoughts are like waves. But if you look at it carefully, you'll see that what we call waves are really just the ocean doing its thing. So when we wake up to this oceanic consciousness, we realize that all thought and feeling and sensation is just on the surface of it and is it. There's nothing but consciousness going on. And the part that we are aware of is just the very surface. And we think that that's all there is, when it's actually just the very, very most superficial part of it. The introception is knowledge through identity, so it's an I am. It's not an about that grasps, it's an is that is. I'm using language that's conceptual language, that's language about. So you're trying to talk about an essence or an identity using language that's about. And it's challenging. All we can really do is point to it. The dissatisfaction that we experience in life, that the Buddhists call dukkha, or suffering, that sense of incompleteness, is caused by our lack of awareness of this deeper dimension of consciousness that's oceanic, and that we are, and it is. It's the nature of humanity, it's the nature of the world. It's a infinite essence of all that is, and that's what we are. And that's what this is. That's all anything ever is. And because it's truth itself being the actuality of what it is, not just our superficial perception of it as thought or feeling, that is satisfying. It fills in all the gaps of needing and wanting and having and all the drama of life. So you get someone who is like an empty bike tire and they start filling up, and that's unmistakable. It's like being filled with knowledge, but you're becoming aware of that dimension of stillness, consciousness, that's what Franklin Merrell-Wolff called knowledge through identity. It's not knowledge about, it's knowledge as. Your true nature is, in a sense, certain about itself. But it's not an about. It's not a grasping. It's the way a river knows how to be a river. It doesn't think, it just is that. So we are like that, and when we wake up to that, we become satisfied because we're becoming aware of who we are in our essence. And it's poorly understood. How do we break that sense of needing to think compulsively? There's nothing wrong with thinking. There's nothing wrong with using a crescent wrench. But if you're addicted to using that tool, that's a problem, because not everything's shaped like a hexagonal bolt, and it's not necessarily the best tool for everything. There's a wisdom in what I'm calling knowledge through identity. It knows what to do, but it's not knowledge about. So knowledge about is the realm of the mind, where it grasps things. Our essence comprehends all that, and yet it comprehends things in their totality. So it's not just the grasping part, it's everything else as well. Which is to say, it comprehends the mind and no mind as well. So there's noise and there's stillness. There's mental activity and there's rest, or there's a lack of mental activity. That to someone who's addicted to thinking, they can't do that. Just like an alcoholic can't stop drinking. There's a satisfaction in being the intelligence that knows which tool to use and when and how often. The thing is, that intelligence itself is not a tool. It's the wisdom behind things, in a sense. And we are that already. We have to be able to wake up to no mind, to use the mind responsibly. Our tools are so good, it's like, well, who the hell are we? The tools use themselves. They're smart enough to just do stuff. And it raises the question, well, who am I? If I can't solve problems, what good am I? The part of us that solves problems is just the part that we call the mind. Who we are is prior to that. It's more fundamental than that. And it has no problems. And it doesn't have a problem with not having problems. Whether problems arise or not, it's fine with that. So if AI is like a fancy tool that we have, we're scared of it because they're saying that perhaps even within a few years it'll become smarter than we are. The problem, at least in part, is the problem of not having any problems. Like, the robots have solved everything, what do I do? So maybe it's paradoxical or ironic. To the consciousness that I am, that's not a problem. Why is that? Because all an AI can be is a tool. It would be like my crescent wrench learned how to morph into whatever tool that might be needed. The real fear is what happens if our robot overlords decide to kill us all. As horrible as that is, consciousness is greater. The reality that we are transcends birth and death, is prior to and infinitely more satisfying than any of that. Part of it for me is, and this has to be part of it, that waking up means you're not dead and you're not alive because you weren't born. It's fundamentally transcendent. So the fears about death and all of that are unimportant. The problem of mortality is not a problem, because basically whatever it is that lies beyond death and prior to embodiment, we sometimes forget that we're scared of death, but before we were born, we don't know what happened then either, and that stretches to infinity. So not really scared of that. It's, in a sense, already happened. What we call life is really embodiment. We have a body. The body has a finite lifespan. But embodiment is just another tool. The consciousness that I am, and that we all are, this one consciousness comprehends all tools, if you will, all forms. The awareness that I am and that we are is that already, and it comprehends all because it is all. That's why it's called knowledge through identity. The identity is what it is, and it's what everything is. Before we pick it up and make a tool out of it, the essence of it is what we are. So just the ability to be aware of that dimension of stillness. It has the nature of stillness. That provides a context for the absurdities we go through, the Sisyphean bullshit that we have to deal with. including dying, where we don't take it so seriously. And I think AI is that part of it where we're kind of being forced to deal with this existential question. Like, if I don't have my thinking machine to give me pleasure, my problem solving machine, what do I do? It is kind of like death, you know? You have to die to the part of you that creates a sense of existence through that, through creating problems and solving problems. I would just call that the mind. It's thought, feeling, and sensation. It's some combination of those. Ego is that tendency to be addicted to that. See, it's not a problem if we're not attached. So, do you have the ability to relax and enjoy being? Being essentially who you are prior to problem solving. That is satisfying. That resting in who I am is satisfying. It's infinitely satisfying. It's more satisfying than anything. The only answer is to wake up to the dimension of the reality that doesn't need those things, because it is those things in their essence. It didn't create a problem, so there's no need to solve it. It's already solved because it didn't exist in the first place. It's like a big wave coming out of the ocean. It is the ocean. It always was. That's all there is. There's a natural flow to life where we don't base our happiness on things that can be taken away. And the only thing that can't be taken away is consciousness itself. The things that we experience always arise to and within consciousness, and in some sense as consciousness. Consciousness would be like the ocean, and the wave is the part that we get caught up in, the mind, the waves of the mind. And of course it's temporary and it crashes and then it's gone and we're dead. Are we? Wake up to that oceanic dimension of stillness and be at peace. And then have fun. Dolphins jump out of the water because it's fun, not because they're solving a problem. That's my imagination of it anyway. So life could be fun, actually. But oh no, I'm scared of death. That's a problem. There's a little poem I like by the poet Byron that goes, "Die before you die and be absolutely dead. Then do whatever you want. It's all good." That's the translation that I have anyway. Yeah, die before you die. Wake up to the deathless. It already is. And part of it is just learning about this part of us that I'm calling the mind that exists to solve problems that we create.